Hey there, sweet friends. This is Gina. Welcome to the TheReBookery channel. Okay, I've been working on getting another kit together, and I'm super excited about this kit because I had a lot of fun journaling with the materials, and as I was journaling, it was helping me to come up with things that I knew I wanted to include because I just kept, having all these memories. And then I just had so much fun pulling things that I have from my stash that would go with the theme, but then I also like to throw in some quirky random stuff. So let me show you. This is the journal entry that I did. Let me scoot it up here in frame. And so this was a video that I did. Let's see, today is Friday, so I did this video. I published the video on Thursday. So I will link it below, but my whole inspiration for this kit was playing school. Like back when I was a young kid, that was one of the things that we used to play was school. And so this layout that I did was about playing school. And then I just really had some memories and stuff that I wanted to commemorate about my brother and about growing up and about, life in the late 70s, early 80s. And so as I was doing this journal spread, I was using materials that I was like, that would be awesome in a kit, that would go along with the theme, or that would go along with the 70s theme. So that's kind of where my inspiration came from. The other part of my inspiration came from my stash of books, because I have so many books. I'm a book collector, but probably a book hoarder. So I just have a whole bunch of old vintage, so they're vintage, but most of them are just old school books. So like this one, it is tattered and yellowed and aged, and it is like 1938. And then I have some Basil readers from like the 1970s, and those would be the ones that you probably remember when you were in school if you went to public schools. Those were the bluebirds, the redbirds, and the yellowbirds, and you would sit there and read with the teacher, and there would be a collection of stories. So I have some of those too, because those are near and dear to my heart, because that's how I was taught. So I pulled all of my old school books, and I ended up with about 32 of these books. So they're all different. I had some science ones, I have some arithmetic ones, I have, and they actually say arithmetic. I have some vintage readers, I have some Basil readers, I have a whole collection of these books. And so those were like my starting point. I started with, that's how many books I had, so that's how many kits I could make. And then once I had the books, I started pulling a lot of different things. Some were school themed, but a lot of them were just random things that reminded me of my childhood, reminded me of the 70s and 80s, but doesn't necessarily have to go in a journal about school. Definitely does not. All of these materials can be very multi-purpose materials. They can be used on lots of different layouts and journal spreads. I just tried to keep it all, centered around this theme of being a kid and playing school and playing make-believe, and growing up in the 70s and 80s. So with this kit, I'm going to do kind of the same thing I did last time. There'll be 3 parts. There will be a fabric part, there will be a paper part, and then there will be a book. So my materials are going to be totally different than the last kit that I did, which, by the way, thank you guys so much. I had no idea that they would go over so well. And I apologize to those of you guys that didn't get them and or didn't see the video until later. I truly just put them out there not knowing what would happen, and they went like hotcakes. So yeah, so I hope everybody that wants one will be able to get one this time. So if you got one last time though, these are all different materials. I tried not to use anything that was the same so you could get a different collection. Okay, so I've got some stuff packaged in the box, but I have my stash of fabric here, so I think I'll go over my fabric first because I haven't actually put them in the packaging yet. So this kit will have, oh, and this kit also has a goodie bag full of just cool little things. So I'll show you that. Okay, all right, so for my fabric, I didn't do any vintage sheets this time. I was thinking about it, but then, I don't know, I just saw some of this fabric that I have in my stash, and this was what I ended up and went with. So this is not vintage. I do not believe this is vintage, but this is thrifted fabric, and it's kind of cool with the primary colors, and I just thought it was kind of childlike. This is my ode to polyester because you know I love polyester. And if you've watched my videos before, I've mentioned my 6th grade science teacher. His name was Mr. Holiday, and he could wear some polyester. He wore polyester pants, polyester shirts. Yeah. So it's funny because my husband had Mr. Holiday also, and he knows what I'm talking about because that's the first thing when you think of Mr. Holiday, you always think about his polyester. So that's kind of been my inspiration for my polyester collection. It's like, oh my gosh, what would Mr. Holiday wear? And I swear to you, he had a pair of pants that were made out of this fabric. So a strip of this cool little polyester, and then this fabric right here. Oh my gosh, okay, I have to show you the whole big bundle, so hang on. So I saw this at a thrift store, and I picked it up, put it down, picked it up, put it down. There was like 3 different bundles of it. And I was just like, oh my God, it is hideous. It is so ugly. And I couldn't decide if I liked it because normally I like ugly stuff, but this was just, it was out there. So it's a polyester type of fabric, a synthetic fabric. And it's got glitter woven into it, or tinsel woven into it. And then it's got a really busy flower garden pattern. So I'll come up close, see if you guys can see this. There were 3 different rolls of this fabric, and I picked the one that was the least hideous. I left the other 2 there for somebody else to get, and I have just kind of had this, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Because it's totally 80s, totally 70s. One of my friends on Instagram is like, I need to make a skirt out of this. Yeah, I'm sure there are some people that made skirts or shirts out of this. I don't know, you could have made draperies out of it. I honestly don't know. Definitely not a blanket because it's very scratchy, but I don't know. I was just feeling like, you know, this could have been curtains in my room when I was playing school. This could have been a tablecloth at my grandma's house. This could have been, oh, God forbid, but this could have been a dress that someone would have worn. So yeah, I'm loving it. It's so ugly, I love it. So I've got a square of that fabric, that shimmery, glittery fabric. So that will be included. So that's the fabric. Now let's do paper. So paper is, I just went overboard on this, guys. I had to up my page protector, so it's a 12 by 12, and then I'll just fold it down so it'll tuck into the box. And then I could not stop on this. And so my thinking was, I don't want this to be, you know, totally school driven, like you feel like you have to do school things with this, but I wanted to pull from enough different sources that you could lend these to any type of journaling, any subject matter. You could find inspiration in any of these papers. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, subjects in school. And so I tried to hit on all the big subjects in school, just tried to make sure, you know, that I got a little bit of each of, you know, the different disciplines in school. So let me make sure I'm in frame. So the first thing is a US metric converter. This is made out of card. If you watched my video, you saw how I took it apart. It had a little slide-in thing. But this would make a great little journal pocket with the little peekaboo windows there. And then some flashcards, of course. I've got some Snoopy pages again, just because we're talking 70s and 80s. I've got some crossword puzzles and different little word games on some papers, like they're yellowed. Probably, I think those were like 1989, I think was what I saw the date. So this is from my stash, my hoard of small coloring books. So let me show you the covers of them. So along the lines of me doing, you know, thrifting and stuff, for many, many years, I would collect these little coloring books or, you know, little puzzle books. And they were these small ones. They were short. They're not like the coloring books you could go to Kmart or TG&Y and buy when I was a kid. These were smaller, so they're much older. And I have just had them in my stash. And I don't know, I've been kind of afraid to use them. And I thought, why not? Why not? If they're just gonna sit here and sit in this box, I might as well get them out there and give them to you guys and let you do them some justice. So I've put a couple of pages of those coloring books in the kit. This is just a page I pulled out of a journal. Another card. So with school, I always think of planning. And so these are 2 pages from like a date book. This one is 1978 and this one is 1981. Some more crossword puzzle book pages. And this is really nice thick paper. I had 3 books that were these crossword puzzles, and they were hardback books. I actually turned one into a journal a while ago, and just the coolest little illustrations. I just love the big black print on this. Some envelopes, and then I got into some different book pages. So I pulled from lots of different books. So let me grab my books. Okay, so crossword puzzle book, dictionary, some vintage readers, and then these are the lesson plans, and so you got a page from that. Some riddle books, some measuring books, some more vintage readers, some dictionary pages. So this is one of the dictionaries that I pulled out of, and I love this paper because it's nice and thin. And it's really pliable, and it works great when you're gluing or you're collaging. This is a vintage reader called Words to Know, and this is where the dictionary pages. So I originally had this as one of the books that I was going to include in the kit, and then I was just like, you know, I want to spread the love. So I pulled the book apart. I'll use the cover for something later, and then I took the pages out and then put pages in every one of the kits. This is a really cool book that I got recently. This is called Teach Me Handwriting. It's old, and 1956, to Margaret from Mommy and Daddy, 1956. And so I want to make this into a journal, but I'm not going to use all of the pages. So I pulled some of the pages out, and then each one of the kits will have one of these pages. And these pages are super, super thick and cottony. Oh my gosh, I can imagine like if you did watercolor or something on these, that would be kind of cool. So those were some of the books I pulled from. Okay, so the lesson plan books came from a couple of different of those vintage readers. Then some of this was from my own supply of my own teaching materials. So one time, summer school, a long time ago, oh my gosh, probably 11 years ago. Yeah, it was probably 11 years ago. We went we had nature. That was what it was. It was nature was our theme for summer school. And so we had these little journals, and every day we'd go out and there would be a different prompt. And so what I did was I had some of the journals left over. I just cut them in half. And so you'll get a half a page from that. A card that was used to tell time. A page from, this isn't a Dick and Jane book, but it's along those same lines. There was a whole bunch of different types of readers. So there was like the ones that had Sue and Pete, I think. And then this one, or this is Sue and Jimmy. There was Dick and Jane. There was Jill. I can't remember who was with Jill. Maybe Jack. I don't know. But anyway, so this is one of those readers. Some pages from some music, some vintage music books. And so, again, I had the book as one of the ones in the kits, and then I just decided, because I had actually 3 different music books, so I decided to pull one of them and just take the pages out so everybody would get some music pages. Some golden book pages. This is from one of my favorite golden books, I Can Fly. Love that one. That was my daughter's favorite when she was growing up. That and Baby Deer. Some 1970s science book pages. Now these are cool. So this was a set of math books that somehow I acquired, but they came from a college that's not too far from here. Actually, it's the college that I got my undergrad degree in teaching, and they are known for being a teaching college. But this was a set of books that they used, I don't even know when, it was way before my time. And somehow I acquired this set of books. And they have the coolest illustrations. It has to be 1970s era because it's just those blaring colors and just a lot of that graphic that you know is back in those 1970s times. So a couple of different pages from the math books that came from that college. A page from a book about atoms, a page from a book about rocks. Here's those dictionary pages that I showed you guys with the nice thin paper. Some Basel reader pages. Here's the book of words pages, the handwriting page. And then I wanted to pull in some social studies, and social studies is not really my jam, but I do have some books that are, you know, history books and lots of geography and things like that. So what I did was I just pulled apart, these were like Golden Book encyclopedias, and I pulled them apart, and so you'll get, I think it was an entire signature, which is like 6 pages. So, and that nice thick paper and really cottony matte paper. This came from, a book of riddles. And then some of them actually, like this was just the end paper of that book of riddles, but there were actual riddles. Some of you guys will get the actual riddles. Some coloring book pages. Some phonics book pages. Here's the measuring book pages. Make sure I'm in frame here. When I used to teach first grade, we would make mini books. So I don't teach first grade anymore, but I still have my mini book. So I pulled it apart and put a page of that in there. Some Charlie Brown, and it's not the same dictionary that was in my previous kit. This is a totally different, this was actually a whole series. And so there was not just one book, it was like 10 different books. And so I pulled 2 pages from various books. Now, as a teacher, I love overhead transparencies. I don't use them anymore because, you know, technology has caught up with me, but overhead transparencies, I love them. I love them. So I have a collection of them because as teachers, we don't use them anymore. And so a lot of people throw them away, or I can find them in thrift stores. And so, yeah. So a transparency, and the transparencies came from a 2nd grade McGraw-Hill science book. So yeah, there you go. A periodic table. So this was my very first book I bought in 1995. I was teaching 4th grade, and I was teaching the human body, and we didn't have a textbook because my principal didn't believe in textbooks. And so I went out and bought a book on the human body, and so this was it. And actually, it was a really good, it was one of the best units ever. I loved it. My kids actually made these gigantic life-size human bodies. I don't know, it was fun. Anyway, so this is the workbook that we used, and it's just been sitting in my stash forever. And so I thought I would put it to some good use. Some wrapping paper. Oh, and this wrapping paper, this was in the video that I did. So this was from the same cut of the wrapping paper. I think the one I used is, the image is not on here. But anyway, so yeah, you'll get a strip of that wrapping paper and then some other odds and ends wrapping papers, and then one big sheet of this ABC wrapping paper, and it's got a nice matte finish. And then wallpaper. So I had to bring in some 70s, and this wallpaper I've had for a while, and I just love, love, love. It's rolled wallpaper, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but I just felt like it needed to go because I feel like this wallpaper could have been in my kitchen. It wasn't in my kitchen because I know what was in my kitchen growing up, but this could have been in my kitchen because it was very similar. So you get a nice big cut of this wallpaper, and actually I've got, so they rolled, and so I'm flattening them right now. I've got them sitting under some weights, and I'm waiting to package them all up because I want to get them as flat as possible. So that is the paper pack, and I actually have some other little things that I haven't thrown in yet, but I'll be adding some more things to that paper pack. Okay, and then for the goodie bag. So the goodie bag is just, I don't know, just a random bunch of goodies. Okay, so let's start with, all right. So playing cards. All right, so we've got playing cards, flash cards, animal cards, letter cards, game cards. This is, I believe this was, I don't know what the name of this game was, but it was in French, and yeah, it has to do with stop signs and stuff, so those are kind of cool. This is a game called Sets, a Trivial Pursuit card, and I thought this was cool because it says school stuff. Throw in some wildlife, some plants, just a vintage playing card. A Norman Rockwell card, and this one is fall because these kids are heading off to school. So here in the United States, that's when we go back to school. So I thought that was very fitting. Scooby-Doo. I included a Scooby-Doo card because, guys, when I would get home from school, I would sit down and I would watch Tom and Jerry and Scooby-Doo, and I would eat my snack, and then I would go out and play. So yeah, I'm putting Scooby-Doo in there. Another game card, some little letter cards, and then a piece from Scrabble. I have another letter card in here. There we go. A little piece of lettering right there. It's like a chipboard. And then school, to me, I mean, I loved it. It was awesome. But, oh my gosh, my absolute favorite day at school, and still to this day, is still my favorite day, is Valentine's Day. I love Valentine's Day. And so when I think of school, I think of Valentine's Day. There was something about the Valentine exchange, making the Valentine box, and then making sure that everybody in your class got a Valentine, and going to the store and picking out what Valentines you were gonna give, and then opening up your box and seeing all the different Valentines that you got. And I just, oh my gosh, I just, like, Valentine's Day is still my favorite holiday. So I have a little Valentine's envelope, and then I have a Valentine that I just kind of have a collection of little Valentines. So every year when I see, you know, it's Valentine's Day, if I see a cool box of Valentines, I just pick them up. So you get a newer one, and then you'll get a vintage Valentine. And then this is a card from an I Spy game. This is a card from a princess game. This is a slide, similar to the ones I did last time, only these guys are all from China. So the slides are all pictures of something in China, and it's got kind of this cool little detail around it. A Hello Kitty. Do you remember Pogs? Now, I was too old to collect Pogs, but I remember my cousins collecting Pogs, and so this just reminds me of a Pog. Some little circles that I think came from like a bingo set. And we'll throw in some plastic letters, a bingo piece, and then just a little, oh, what are these called? Are these flare pins maybe? They were big in scrapbooking, and they're just metal pins, and then they have like some sticky, although this one isn't sticky, but you would stick them on your layout or something and kind of give some dimension to it. So throw that in there, and then a little Monopoly piece. So yeah, that's kind of the goodie bag. And like I said, I have some more stuff that I want to throw into the goodie bags, but I think I'll let those be a surprise. All right, so the last thing I have in the box is, this is one of the books. So this is a Basel reader. And so this was 1980s or 1970s. And I'm gonna just kind of do random distributing of the books. I want it to be a surprise, and I don't want anybody to get so caught up in, you know, oh, I want to have the science, I want to have the math, because I'm going to give you plenty of all of it. And then just kind of think of it as the book you get is just kind of little, an extra little bonus. And you could pull pages from the book. You could actually turn the book into a journal. You could read the book if you wanted to. Just kind of a little added bonus to the whole kit and all of the cool goodies that you get. So this will go in the box like that, and I'll throw the goodie bag in, and then we'll put the paper on top, and then it'll ship to you just like this. Okay, so let's talk. When am I going to put these on Etsy? Well, I gotta take pictures and finish putting things together. So today is Friday. Let's do Saturday, so tomorrow. And is that June 2nd? Yeah, because today's the 1st. So June 2nd, Saturday, June 2nd, let's go noon. Noon, middle of the day. That way I can hopefully hit all the different time zones. And like I said, I have 30 ready. I have 32 books. If I can get enough supplies together, I'll try to put list 32, but I definitely know I'll be listing 30. And then shipping on these guys, it is going to be a little more expensive, because with the book, I just can't ship this, you know, for cheap. I can't do media because there's other stuff in here. I've tried different options. I was going to do just the flat rate, but it just wouldn't, I mean, it's just, I don't know. The best way would be just to put it in a box. And so the shipping is going to be a little bit higher on this, just because it is going to weigh a little bit more. And then I will keep my price at $20. I feel like that's a great price point for you to purchase a stash builder. And I really just want you guys to be happy with your purchase and feel like you're getting a good value for your hard-earned money. So tomorrow at noon Central Time, June 2nd, Saturday, and I will put these in my Etsy shop. And I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me.